What's up, everybody? Back to J3 Podcast, and I'm Coach John Jewett. With me is Luke Miller. And what are we talking about today, Luke?
We're talking about why you're quitting the 212.
Like all the other 212s?
Seems like there's just a slew just leaving the class behind.
It's been kind of exciting to see, and being that I've been a 212 guy, seeing these guys compete in the open. Because you have Derek, Kamal, there was Angel Calderon. He went up and showed Sean Clarita.
Yeah.
Now you even see Texas Pro Nathan Eplar.
Yeah.
is going to be doing, and I can't help but root for these guys, and just want to see them just completely take guys out. But what do you have any thoughts on these guys jumping into the open and kind of what is the 212 just fading?
I don't think the 212 fading. I think it's honestly it's a little refreshing for a lot of the guys that are making that choice because they are barely fitting into the class anyways. They're kind of like that height in 212 that really has to suck down to 212, like that 5'7" bodybuilder. And a lot of them, it just seems like they're chasing it because they just want to keep improving, which for me is a pretty cool thing to see, that they could just sit on their haunches and collect their paychecks, but they'd rather go and improve and go through the process and give themselves the opportunity to see how good they could be, which is pretty cool. Like, I think that's refreshing from a love for the sport type of a perspective. I think that honestly, like, a lot of them are already fairly competitive or very competitive, right? So it's just interesting to see what, after 2 or 3 years kind of into the open, that's like Antonio Burton. Like, he had a pretty good year this year. 212 last year, then just jumped to the open this year and really making waves. I think he's already had a top 5 finish in the open. So
yeah, he had a third. He had a third, I think.
Yeah, so it's pretty cool to see. I think
William Bonnick, if you want to someone that's really excelled. He was 212.
I think it's what open needs, if I'm honest. And I think it's pretty cool to see that the judging criteria is being honored across the board, right? And being rewarded to those people that show up, not only ready and with the symmetry, but we're not only judging structurally, because it can get kind of lost in the weeds with some of these bigger guys.
Yeah, you start because they're pretty vastly different physiques. It takes me back to 90s bodybuilding with Lee Priest.
Yeah,
Lee Priest would have been a phenomenal 212, and he probably was around the 210 to that, maybe at the end 220-ish mark or higher. I think it was maybe 225 a couple shows.
Yeah,
but again, he had the muscle the same as these other guys, just a smaller frame. That's all it was. And a lot of the guys that do really good coming from 212, like Sean Clarita, he's not even close body wise, but he was maybe 185, 180. And he's 5'2", but he is packed out muscle wise like a guy that's 5'11". So Sean at 5'11" is probably going to be 255, 260 on stage. So you can't always just do it just because you've done well at 212. You still have to be as filled out as the bigger guy to make it really, really work. But it's cool to see it judged fairly for that. And I feel like back in the 90s, it was a real size game chase. Guys were coming in condition. It was definitely a different era there, but I feel like that was weighed in a little bit heavier.
Yeah.
Versus now, you see it's really fairly judged. I know we get behind on who you're fanning with, and you want to see guys. It's a huge Kamal was robbed, and man, y'all have to be there, and it's shot for shot you judge it, and you can make a case a lot of times for this past show that happened.
Yeah, especially with Kamal from the rear, right? He's just pretty much lights out.
Yeah, there's things that grab your eye, but then you forget about other shots. So either way, it's been exciting to see it happen and how it's been judged.
Yeah.
And it got me excited, but it wasn't the main reason why for one, I'm not going to compete this year.
Yeah. I think diving into that why here is important. And I've actually got a question to go along with the why is, this contest prep that you had started, we had kind of gone over some of the pictures that from previous preps and how far ahead condition wise at body weights you were this year already, even with just the short off season time you had. Is that a contributing factor in like solidifying the decision on top of like the core why here? And then kind of dive into that why.
Yeah. So I would be coming up on 13 weeks out and still like, around this 235 mark. And it was like another, probably I would say I could be ready around 215.
Yeah.
When the previous year I was, my lowest I hit was 203. I was pretty sucked down. Let's call it 205. Could easily been like up 10 pounds. And for an off season, for one, that was great. It was the first one I really ran out fully how I wanted to do it. And to see that amount of progress at this, amount of time, years competing, was it did influence. It's like, man, I'm getting to a point where I would have to start like sucking down more, and how much of that look would be lost. Because it's not like, hey, you're ready at 215. You also have to consider you're going to be weighing in the afternoon almost in all these shows. So that's really like 218, 219. So it does make you think. And I've always had in my mind, even from my first pro debut as a 212, like wanting to do open, because I'm 5'7", so it's kind of this weird height spot for me. I'm good as a 212, but I also could switch over to open. So yeah, it absolutely was like an influencing factor that like, hey, what if you had just that little bit more time? Even if it's like 5 pounds, which there might not be more to go, but me at like 220 on stage, what would be a really good point to walk out as an open competitor. But that still wasn't my main driving why.
So dive into that.
Yeah. And I will say, like I was going to do Romania for those that don't know. It's a weird calendar year. Texas Pro is the last show, which is in August, and then you have all the way to December. So it's not the best timeline. It would have cut my off season really short. So Renee and I were like, we'll do the last show, whatever. Not ideal at all to go Romania. It's like a 16-hour travel time. Lots of unknowns going out of the country. And then that's our only shot at it, realistically. And so, there have been some outside life events that have happened that have just made you like take some perspective and think, what do we really value, and what is really fulfilling our days? Like, what's important to us? And it kind of made us think about our ultimate goals, career-wise, relationship-wise, and with at least within bodybuilding, J3 University, like my biggest, like my passion, purpose that leads to this goal is to be really, if you want to say, the most influential educator at the highest level of bodybuilding. That's why I love bodybuilding, is learning the process, implementing it, and seeing it all out, and teaching people about it. Like when I was at my Olympia Meet the Fans, everyone came up to me telling me about J3U and how it influenced them, and man, that was so meaningful. And I think that will be like the legacy that I leave. Not did I get 3rd or 5th place at a show. So for me, I was like, okay, that's my ultimate goal. This is what every decision thereafter should be based around. Is going to Romania fit within that goal? And it doesn't, because Romania it won't be as publicized. It only gives you one opportunity to teach that process. And then even the 212 this year at the Olympia, it's like 30 competitors deep, which is fine. But it just was a very long season for qualifications, and having that many people go, it kind of seems to lose some of the exclusiveness, and it just wasn't as exciting either. Just 212 in general, I guess. So that was the big thing, is like deciding on what your ultimate goal was, and are your decisions fitting within that goal? And it wasn't. So that led me to like what I want to do now.
Yeah, I think that introspection is something that is very valuable, because I think you do see a lot of people kind of get into competing and then they identify themselves with competing, and they just do it so frequently that it's kind of how they identify themselves, without the actual introspection of like, what is actually going to fulfill my satisfaction with this process. And it's like improving to the point that I feel happy with presenting the package on stage, or whatever it is they want out of bodybuilding, whether that be, you know, being the best educator, being the best coach, being the best athlete, whatever that process may look like for them. And I think that introspection is important, right? Like, I haven't competed since 2019, and it's mainly been because I haven't felt like I was ready to present the package that I currently had at each point that we've kind of discussed it, right? Even making it all the way to 5 weeks out. So,
Like it's more fulfilling seeing out your best version. We, you know, I get all nerdy on like my Maslow's hierarchy of needs, right? The pyramid, and you're like, you know, you're trying to reach this self-actualization and see out the fullest potential of yourself.
yeah,
And you can sit out knowing that that process, that decision is leading you to that. And that's like the piece you can have about it, and the piece that I had about it, because it's like doing this show, it's an acute emotional decision based on lower needs of like, I need to get on stage because I've done the Olympia every year. Missing out, am I no longer that Olympian? I'm not as good. That's putting what other people think in like more a status, and is not nearly as fulfilling, versus the best version of myself in helping people is going to be waiting and compete next year. And once I had that, it was easy. Like it was an easy like decision to make, and it was a struggle to not do an Olympia after you've done like 3 in a row.
yeah.
But yeah, having that realization, like what's the best version of seeing out the potential, yeah, it made a lot easier choice.
And I think that with everything coming out with J3U kind of in the near future, it's probably a pretty good decision, just with cementing or fulfilling that thought process of wanting to be the most influential educator, because there's a lot of progression ahead with what J3U is going to become too.
And it's just trying to also teach that side of also just making your decisions.
Yeah.
And that these are the hard choices that you will have to make, and sitting out is one of them. And also like within teaching, you know, you could say like, well, John just stayed 212. Like, how did he never really improved? Or something like that. I guess. I don't know. So it's like, well, part of that was being, you know, at the highest level of bodybuilding, and that's still considered the open.
Yeah.
You know? So to show like, hey, even at this level, I can add the size on and compete among the best, which, let's be honest, the best, it is considered the open, the most muscular.
Yeah, absolutely.
To bring that to stage, I'd say like, yeah, hey, I have done amongst the best in the world. It gets me excited to do it, more so than even the 212.
Yeah. So do you want to walk us through what that offseason is going to look like?
Lots of drugs.
Gram of test.
Yeah.
2 grams master on. No.
Well, like, you know, we like to reverse engineer the process.
Yeah.
So Renee and I picked out the shows and walked backwards in that. So still assuming the calendar year will be the same. The last US show for me will be Texas.
Okay.
So giving myself 3 opportunities on stage is what I would like. So it kind of starts potentially at Vancouver.
Okay.
Which Renee and I both were like, oh, it'd be cool to go to Vancouver. Like, we've always wanted to. Heard it's beautiful. So that would be an open show.
Okay.
And then the weekend before is a wellness show in Austin, Texas. So it's like right down the road. That would be convenient, not a stressor on me. So those are like 2 options. The next show from there is Chicago. So if we, for some reason, say, no, we don't want to go all the way to Vancouver, we'll do Chicago. We can do that together. Then kind of run the same schedule that we ran for last year. We'll hit Tampa, then hit Texas. She has more opportunities. She can do all those shows, but then also she has more that she can do. That would probably it. Renee and I both want. We're not competing together. We probably won't compete because that journey and process together is part of a very fulfilling piece of it.
Yeah.
But yeah. So that is tentatively the schedule, which lands me in July. So walking backwards from there is what I did. And it was assuming probably a 16 to 18 week prep, because I think I will stay a little bit tighter this go round. Not that I have like quite as much time as I did this past off season. Then I'll have about a 7-week period of just like holding body weight.
Yeah. I'll
have about a 16-week escalation phase of just PDs, food, pushing. So 4 months. And then this phase right now that I'm in is about 7 weeks long. I'm just relatively holding where I'm at. So I figure with, hey, you pretty much have a 4-month, really good, solid growth phase. I assume you could put a pound of muscle on it a month. I just feel like that's a very reasonable thing. So if that could land me from where I'm at now, going down to maybe like 218, 219, I think that would be a fun spot to jump out into the open.
Yeah.
So that would be like a first show to hit an open. And then from there, I have to see how that goes, but I would still have the timeline to suck down hard into 212 if I wanted to.
Okay.
So you could do open. Hey, maybe that goes great. Maybe it doesn't. And then try to win a 212 and then go to the Olympia. And man, I thought about it. I told Renee, I was like, I could almost sign off on that year, right? Like if you got a top 5 in the open, or hell, just say you win. I'm going to win an open show, win a 212 show, and then go to the Olympia. Like that would be phenomenal, right? And it's like your biggest, best version you've ever brought. Like, So, but yeah. Anyway, so that's kind of like at least the macro plan. Scale back of what I would do.
Yeah.
At least in this phase, like I'm 235 right now.
Okay.
And I'm pretty lean. Like I definitely was stepping to the point of all the fatigue was kicking in and sleep was getting deranged. And so initially I dropped off a PM cardio session. I was doing 30 minutes AM, 15 minutes PM with about 11,000 steps a day. So I just dropped off my PM cardio session. And then I left my off day diet the same, which is around 2,400 calories. And I added in 600 calories to just training days. Okay.
So you left rest days alone.
Rest days the same because that relatively is at maintenance already.
Yeah.
And it came up just a touch, but not by much. But with the cardio drop, that pretty much did it. And I've been consistently kind of being around this 235 mark every day. So weight's not really going up, it's not going down. So, and then training wise, I was training 6 days a week. That my normal leg split just got really divided out to where I was doing two leg exercises, right? Like a curl and a squat or leg press. So the day I made this decision, I also had like a little like tear in my quad squatting. So that also prompted like the split change. So it'll be fine. It wasn't a big one, but it happened regardless. So moving legs to once a week. So it always will be like legs Wednesday. Then I'll have 3 upper body days. So training. So overall, the sessions are the same except for legs. So volume per session is the same, but the frequency is now more spread out. So weekly volume has decreased. So it is more of a maintenance volume, but we'll drop fatigue and be easier to hold this look. And so what I did was I normally have like my push pull legs. So training 3 days a week. So it'll be push, pull, legs, push. Then when it picks back up, it'll be pull, push, legs, pull. So
Gotcha.
the upper days rotate. So it's like training an upper session every 5 or 3 days, depending where I fall. And legs is just every 7 days. Food bump training volume is scaled back on a weekly basis. And then for PEDs, they're just brought down to a aggressive TRT. We'll call it 300
higher
mix.
baseline.
Okay, 300 milligram per week of test. That's what it's at. With all my other ancillary stuff, you want to know what that is, it's on J3U. Check it out.
Yeah.
And I'm going to hold there for about 7 weeks, and then we'll push it down and do this off-season thing. Steps and stuff. I'm going to keep in 30 minutes cardio in the morning and steps around 10,000 a day.
Yeah.
So that'll all hold. Have labs pulled at the end of this phase, and also have an echo scheduled now too. So those will all happen, and they can give me the check off. Like, yeah, man, go ahead, go gain like 10 pounds of muscle if you want.
Yeah. There's also like a proof in the pudding thing too here, like implementing that process of continuing to improve and still ticking all those boxes of the health marks and kind of walking people through that. That's going to be very valuable as well.
Yeah, I think so. It'll be fun to document and share it. I have to think about what is the best way to do it, because I was writing out my whole like Romania prep. It could have been like a PDF or something. Now it's just this weird like, it's not even an aggressive mini cut. It's just here's a fat loss phase. So I don't know. It's on like my log is in detail on J3U with all my decisions behind it.
Yeah.
But this one could be a cool one.
Yeah, for sure.
Journey to the open, road. It's always something like that, right?
Yeah, for sure.
I actually made a playlist on Spotify. Like, man, this was years ago, and it's still called the same. It was called Project Open, and it's just still that playlist.
You got to bring it out of the closet now. Time to use it every training session.
Yeah, so I'm excited. I think the last split in training layout that I had, it really hit all the areas and saw growth exactly where I wanted to, within chest, delts, triceps, even like traps had improved too. Like I feel like it was heading me to very well-rounded, which I think I'll just keep doing more of the same in that regard. So
love it. Well, I think that wraps up John's quitting 212, huh? Anything else you need to hit?
No, that is it. Wish me luck amongst the mass monsters.
Please stay put together over the next 6 months. Dear God.
No kidding. Yeah, no, I'm 36 now, so like a good workout is one you just don't get hurt in.
It was like a high and a low in the same day. It's like you get the text, I'm moving to open, and then it's like, I tore my quad.
Yeah, at least visually it's fine. There's no bruising, and we're coming up on a week later, so it wasn't that bad.
Okay, good.
Yeah, it'll be fine. So anyway, guys, thanks for tuning in. Appreciate it. You're on YouTube, comments, questions about, I'd love to hear what y'all think about 212 guys moving to the open. Should they just get rid of 212? Because I've heard people say that. So you tell me below what y'all think. If you're on Spotify or Apple or listening that way, thanks for tuning in, and we'll talk to y'all next time.